Good afternoon. I'm Gloria Nelson with TUG, and we're so glad to have you join us today for our TUG Connects 365 programming. As you settle in and get ready for the start of today's webinar, let me give a brief introduction for TUG, the usergroup.org, for both our current members and those of you who represent organizations that have not yet joined our online community of Infor Distribution software users. We've all heard that phrase, knowledge is power, and I can say with confidence that after today's presentation, you'll be waking up tomorrow with a little more of both. Today is but one of our many in-depth sessions in our TUG Connects 365 series. TUG webinars, online forums, and member events facilitate the timely exchange of ideas and information to help you work smarter and with more confidence. Now that's a powerful combination. If you're currently a member, it pays to get even more involved. And if you're not, please visit our website to discover why 2,300 heads are better than one to help you be the best at what you do. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Ken Mostello, President of Expertek. Ken, go ahead and take it away.
All right. Well, thank you, Gloria. Appreciate the introduction. And can you hear me okay? Just want to make sure I'm all right.
We can see your slide and we can hear you perfectly fine, Ken. Thank you for checking.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining this afternoon. I appreciate you spending the next hour or so with us. Today's presentation is going to be on our FieldOffice product. FieldOffice is a product that we as Expertek Systems have had in the market now for, I think it's getting close to 10 years. And we're going to spend a little bit of time just kind of stepping through a brief PowerPoint on what the product is all about, and then we'll give you a brief demo. And I am going to make every effort to try to wrap this up in less than the allotted hour today, in the interest of respecting your time. And because really what I'm just trying to do is introduce a concept here and some ideas that I think might be helpful to your business. So I think a lot of you probably know who Expertek is. We've been an Infor partner since there was an Infor, and we've been working with SX.e now since the late 90s. So we're pretty well ensconced historically with the product. We're also an Infor solution partner, and by that what I mean is we do develop extensions and integrations with other products to help distributors really get the best value out of their CSD or SX.e system. The mission of the company, very simply, is helping distributors leverage technology to optimize their operations, improve productivity, and make you more profitable. That is what we are all about and have been for the 28 years we have been in business. I am, again, Ken Mostello. I'm one of the co-founders of the company. So I'm really pleased you could join us. So let's talk a little bit about what FieldOffice is. This is a product we developed really at the behest of our clients going back many years ago. It actually originally started as a product for the compact iPack. You'll remember those. They were little handheld devices that allowed you to kind of had very crude little apps on it that you could use to kind of store information. And then when you got a connection somewhere, usually on a phone or back in your office, you could upload information. So that was the origin of what later became FieldOffice. And then as we got into the early 2000s and mid 2000s, our clients were asking for us to produce something that was on a more up-to-date platform, and we built FieldOffice. And FieldOffice is built on Apple technology. It works on an iPad, and it's a native application. So you get the full enriched experience of having a native app on a device that it was built to run on. So why do people choose FieldOffice? They choose it, I think, for a lot of good reasons. If you have salespeople who have contact with customers in the field, you need a product like this. And why? Because if they are taking orders from your customer, they need to be informed. They need to know prices, they need to know product availability, and they need to be more efficient. They need to be able to alert the customer to products that he needs. So that's why we have this product. So maybe more specifically, what does it do? It helps you check on orders. You can look up inventory information, product availability, get pricing, and it's real-time pricing. So you get the customer's real price. You can compare prices on products, look up the order history, and of course you can order, and you can order in real time, and you get essentially the same ordering experience you would get in SX.e or CSD with in a mobile compact environment. So I think if you really want to know that, I think the important point is we're really looking to help you not miss selling opportunities. And if we can do that, then we're going to help you improve your bottom line, and we're going to improve your customer experience. These are the typical use cases we see for the product these days. We've always been working with outside representatives, field sales reps. That has been kind of our bread and butter with the product over the years. But we also see a lot of use in route sales, where companies drive around with trucks. They kind of run a warehouse out of the truck, sell off their inventory in the truck to the customer in real time. We see quite a bit of that. We've had people and still have people use it at trade shows where they're taking orders on the show floor, either to be delivered with goods that are there or goods that are going to get shipped out later. Within showrooms in distributors' headquarters. And in recent years, we've really made a big push into vendor managed inventory. And it's actually vendor managed inventory, or VMI, that I really wanted to spend a little bit of time today to focus on and talk about a little bit more. So where you use the product, it's wherever sales is mobile, whenever you're not tethered to that computer screen.
Ken, I just wanted to jump in here for a moment and just give you a nudge and let you know that we have that polling question. So just give me the audible and I'll go ahead and launch that anytime you're ready.
Thank you. Okay, yes. So for those of you who have questions, you can submit questions on your screen. Please feel free to do that. And we'll take a couple of breaks along the way here just to field a few of those questions. Thanks, Gloria. So the product, it is a full featured order entry that is specifically designed for distribution. So this isn't a very simplified order entry that you might find, let's say, in a CRM product, where you're just putting in products and quantities and the rest gets done somehow, some way. There is quite a bit more sophistication that you would need really as a distributor. Beyond that, we've expanded the functionality to include things like editing customer and ship to information. That's all security controlled, of course, so you don't have to use it. Tendering can be done on the application, and we actually do have an interface to SendPause. So if you are an Infor SendPause user, we do support that. And of course, you can inquire, and we do actually also have a link into the Infor CAM module as well if you want to maintain and update contact information. So I guess this is a good point to stop and take a couple of questions if anybody has submitted any, Gloria.
On camera with you for a moment here. And I've seen a couple of things populate. Want to remind everyone that the Q&A bar is there for you, the bubble, and that will come directly to us. And also, if you're putting any questions into the chat bank, when you put them in Q&A, everyone can see them. But if you want to put chat in to make a contribution of any kind, make sure that your setting is panelists and attendees. We did have one question pop up already. Can FieldOffice run without an internet connection?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. The answer is yes. And that's one of the real benefits of having it be a native application. We actually do have a small database of SX.e Cloud Suite data that we keep on the iPad. And we keep things like products, customers, uh, information along that line. Now, when I say that, what does that mean? You don't get the same full experience you would get if you're online, because then we can do things like check prices and product availability. So what it becomes when you do it offline is it becomes more of an ordering pad where you're collecting information, products, how many the customer wants. And then the real beauty of it comes when you reconnect later back to the internet, because all those orders are stored, and then you can forward them up and sync them with your system. And when it does that, what it does do, and this is an important point, is it applies all of the business rules that you have in your system. So we try to be faithful to all of the business rules that you have set up for for your ordering process in SXE, and all those rules get reapplied upon submission. So pricing will be right. If you require a PO and you didn't put it in when you were collecting it in the field, we're going to make you do it then. So those kinds of things are there. And yes, we can do offline ordering.
Ken, we do have another question, but before we get into that, I wanted to ask you, is now a good time to launch that poll with regard to how people that are online viewing manage their inventory, or do you want to wait a moment on that?
Let's wait a minute. We are going to talk. I know that what you're going to ask is about vendor managed inventory, and I'd like to maybe wait till we cover a couple of those slides, and then we'll pop the question.
Perfect. I do have one more question. This next one says, if we're running Cloud Suite, why would it make sense to have a FieldOffice license if I can just use CSD on a tablet?
Right. That's a good question too. Yeah, let's talk about that. I can think of offhand at least 3 reasons why I would want that. First of all, if you are a really casual user in the field and you're very infrequent, the answer may be Cloud Suite is fine for that purpose. But if you need to have regular mobile sales related activity in the field, like ordering, checking prices, and looking up customer orders in the field, you're going to want a FieldOffice license. And I would add a couple of specific points about that. First of all, it's for somebody who's in a sales role, it's a lot less expensive to license than a Cloud Suite user. And he doesn't necessarily need the full use of the accounting and all the other things that come along with being a Cloud Suite user. Another point that's kind of important is you do get that offline mode that we talked about on the last question. And then the third point I would mention too is your speed and efficiency. You just won't be able to order as fast on a web-enabled application that was really not specifically designed for a tablet. I mean, our app is designed specifically to run native as a tablet application, so the speed and efficiency is just much faster.
Wonderful. We do have a couple more, but I think I'm going to wait and let you roll along because they might be answered in context in the next bit of information you'll share. So I'm going to jump off and you let me know when you're ready to launch that poll or answer more questions, and I'll join you again.
Okay,
Thanks,
great.
Ken.
Thank you, Gloria. So that really brings up the topic that I really kind of wanted to talk about today, which is vendor managed inventory. I have a very simple philosophy when it comes to vendor managed inventory. If you have salespeople who are in the field taking orders from customers, I think a logical question is, why aren't they providing a vendor managed inventory service to your customer? Okay. And I think there's a strong business case to be made. And I make it all the time with our clients that you're out in the field. You need to be thinking about doing this. And I can give you at least a few reasons why I think it makes sense to entertain the idea. First of all, you bring a lot of value to the customer. You, in essence, become kind of his inventory manager for the products that you sell to that customer. So you're in a good position to know when he needs something because you're an expert in that line of products. That's a lot of value. Another point in that is he may not have the time or the inclination to be keeping up and tracking what he needs from you. So that's a service that you can provide. I think it's then also there clearly are benefits for you as the vendor. You get to control a greater share of the sales process. You're making suggestive orders that help to increase the number of products you sell and the dollar volume you're selling, but you're also really helping to assure that that customer has everything he needs, and that counts for a lot. I mean, nobody wants to be out of stock. And if you're there to help him make sure that he's got what he needs, you're providing value. And I think it's reasonable to say that if you're doing this, you're going to increase your share of that customer. And you are putting up a barrier to your competition because they may not have the tools or the wherewithal to provide this service. So you've introduced something of some value. So that's my case for why at least you want to think about doing VMI. And again, if you are out at the customer and you are there to in a selling capacity, to me it makes a lot of sense to be actively involved in determining what he needs rather than showing up and just saying, is there anything you want to buy today? Okay. So let's talk about VMI as it pertains to FieldOffice. We support VMI really in two different ways, and based on our experience, that is what we typically see with the distributors that we work with. I mean, the traditional way is that the customer buys product, he has it in stock, and then you go through a section of his warehouse, you inventory what he has, and you replenish, usually based on some sort of min-max type principles. When his inventory falls below a certain level, you order up to a certain level. I saw one of our clients actually has an intriguing way where how they do that. And what they do is they actually have bins out in the warehouse with two lines on it. When the inventory falls below the lower line, they order and replenish up to the top line. That's pretty simple, but that's how it works. And now they're doing it with FieldOffice. The second way is consignment, and we'll talk about that more in a minute. I want to get into both of these in a little bit more detail, but those are really the two modes of virtual managed, or I should say vendor managed inventory that we see in the field. So let's talk about how that works. So the first method was replenishing the customer's inventory. And I think the key point you need to understand first is the customer has already taken title to these goods. These are his goods in his warehouse. You're helping to replenish. So the customer owns the inventory, and the rep goes and counts what he has. And the FieldOffice is going to suggest a reorder quantity if he falls below a minimum quantity. The rep enters and submits that order, and that creates obviously a sales order that ends up getting shipped to the customer to replenish what he has. Another thing that we do offer in there is that you can capture a signature with that order so that there's no question that the customer has reviewed it and seen it. We can also email him a copy of that order as an acknowledgement when the order is placed. So that's the first way. Now, in the second way, we have consigned inventory, and this is a somewhat different concept. Consigned inventory says the customer doesn't really have title to those goods. We still own those goods. What we have done is set up a warehouse within his facility. It's still our goods. It's really kind of our warehouse in his facility, and we're going to replenish that based on what he consumes. So the best analogy I've heard about that is you think of the mini bar in a hotel room, right? It's there. It's got candy bars and beverages, alcoholic and otherwise. That inventory is not yours as the guest in the room. It belongs to the hotel. When you go take a candy bar, somebody comes by later, they inventory the mini bar and they notice it missing, so you get charged on your bill for that candy bar. This is same idea. So as I said, the vendor owns the inventory. The rep is still counting what is there. But what he's counting, the system knows what the physical inventory should have been for that item. So the difference between what it has and what you count is the consumption of the product. And that becomes the way of determining what exactly the customer has bought. And then what we do is we create a sales order that gets shipped and invoiced. So really what he's getting is an invoice for what he's used. And because this is a warehouse in SX.e or Cloud Suite, that warehouse will get replenished using the buyer's control center features that are built into the product. So the whole cycle in essence works. But what you're really creating here is an invoice based on what he's used at this point. Okay, and now Gloria, if you do want to pop the question on that you had, or rather the polling question, might be a good time to do it. Yeah, so the question really is, are you doing vendor managed inventory? We'd like to know. And if you are you doing it the consigned way, or is it the customer's inventory? The two different methods that I talked about. Okay, so that's the polling question. And I guess we'll keep going.
We're going to leave that open for just a few minutes because we've only had 52% of our viewing audience that's online today respond. I'm going to encourage a few more people to jump out of the woodwork, walk on the wild side, click one of those yes, no buttons, and give us a little bit of information and insight as to who's viewing today.
Right. Again, I like to approach all of these things really from a business context. Where is the value in what it is we're offering? I think this product does a lot to improve the customer experience that you're delivering. And if you're doing vendor managed inventory, I think you're even taking it to another level. So interesting to see what you're doing.
And there's the results for you, Ken, if you want to go ahead and take a look at those to see
wow.
who's online with us.
It's great to get answers in real time. I have to say, this is
it's a great
awesome.
tool.
Yeah. So 71% of you say you're doing it, which is really, I guess, kudos to you. I mean, that is just excellent to see. I mean, it really says that you folks are have already gone there and are doing what makes a lot of sense. So, for those of you that don't have FieldOffice, you might find this tool to be valuable to help you conduct that process. And so with that, we'll continue. And by the way, it also looked like it was not quite an even split, but almost evenly divided about those that are either doing it with the customer owning the inventory or consignment. Okay. I mean, I do like to make an ROI pitch for the product, and I think it's I like to look at ROI both in terms of hard dollar savings and in terms of soft dollar savings. And some of this, of course, will depend on what you're doing now. But I think it's reasonable to say that if you don't have some sort of electronic automated process in the field today, and you're doing orders away from your computer today, there is enormous value in collecting that information electronically, and the payback really falls into what you save in terms of efficiency, productivity improvement, improved accuracy, and the customer getting a better experience because you're going to be armed with more tools to do that. That second point really kind of gets into soft dollar ROI. These aren't things that you can necessarily put a dollars and cents figure on, but it really says, hey, I'm doing a better job for my customer. And because I'm doing a better job for my customer, he's going to buy more from me. And I think it's fair to say, again, with these tools in your hands, you're better positioned to provide him a better experience, and you're providing more value when you show up. So these are just a few of the testimonial quotes we've gotten over the years from some of our clients. These are all clients who have been on the product for many years now. I can say I think we've really helped to transform their businesses. They're all, fans certainly, and have come to depend upon this product for the function of their business. So happy to say that, happy to have these clients with us, and there are many more too. All right. Well, that is kind of the PowerPoint part of this. Again, I think we'll take some Q&A, and then we'll do a brief demo, and it will be brief.
Great. Question, can this program be utilized for delivery tracking, customer signature captures, etc.?
That's a good question. Yes, we do have some signature capture and delivery capture in the product. Is it a full-featured proof of delivery system? No. We really built those features for our clients who are already using it really more in a sales capacity, so that they could, extend that use into delivery. But if all you're looking for is proof of delivery, Infor's got a proof of delivery application that has gotten quite good in the last year or so that you should look at too. And obviously you can look at what we have as well, but we do, that functionality we do have. It's just not, an extensive set of features.
Right. I want to let you know that Blake Bonner also typed into the chat box that he said the second question that we posed in polling should have had a third option, which was both of those responses, which I find interesting. So we at least know that we have one person that's online that's running both of those options with regard to inventory
Well,
management.
sure. Yeah,
And
you could do that, right? I mean, you could have a customer that's got consigned inventory there, as well as some of the stuff that he's already bought from you, and you're doing both sides. That could be.
Right. Another question is, what versions of SX.e does FieldOffice work with?
Okay, that would be important. Well, CSD is CSD. There's only one version of Infor's cloud product. We work with that. Okay. The second question about SX.e gets a little more complicated, because the SX.e product goes back many years with many versions. We have clients that run the product today on versions as early as 6.190. So that is considered our first officially supported version. It is possible, if you're on something earlier, to talk to us, and we can potentially do that, but 6.190 would be the official earliest supported release, and everything since.
We have one more question, but I'm going to hold it until we get to the end, because I want to let people know that where we're headed next is Ken's going to dive in and bring, I think you're ready now to bring on your iPad. Is that not correct, Ken?
Yes, right.
Let's slide over on that screen and get us into the visual. Ken is going to actually show you a live demonstration of what that looks like on his iPad. Don't you just love the world of high tech, everyone? And so, Ken, I'm going to just jump off camera and leave it all to you again.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad you like the high tech. Honestly, juggling all these appliances in front of me is not my thing, but I'm going to do what I can here. So what you should see is my iPad screen in front of you. It's mirrored on my computer. So what you're looking at is an image of what's on my iPad. And if I'm not looking directly at you, it's because I'm, using my finger to navigate on the iPad as I do this. But what you see here in front of you is the home screen to our FieldOffice application. You'll notice there is some basic account information here. If you're familiar with SX.e and Cloud Suite, it's multi-company. We have the user associated with the company that he works with. We can also associate him with one or more sales rep codes. And one of the things that's kind of cool about FieldOffice is, outside sales reps typically work within a subset of customers. Inside reps, not so much, right? An inside rep potentially can take a call from almost any customer, and it's an inbound call, and he works with that customer. But a field sales rep, an outside rep, is really, he's going out to meet the customer. So with him, you maybe and most likely want to limit the number of customers that he sees in the product. And we have that capability. Up here, you're going to see our menu button. our menu button is really the key to take you into all the things you care about in the product. So we're over here at home. We're going to go into orders. Orders is all we're going to go into today, because from orders you can get to almost all of these other things as well. And we do have a customer tab where you can go in and dial in and look at the customer. Same thing with products. And in most versions of SX.e, we also do have a reporting capability so that you can actually run some of the SX.e reports on demand, which is kind of neat. So let's go into orders. Okay, and I'm going to come up to menu. Let's go to orders. Here we go. And I just have, this is just what's been there since my last inquiry. From here, I have two choices. I can either start an order, or I can go and I can do an order inquiry. Okay. I've already got some orders up here. If I wanted to go look at them, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to walk you through an order, and that's going to be what we're going to cover. So let's go to new, and I'm just going to start an order here. You'll notice it also lets me do a quote. Okay. Pretty much the same process either way, just like it is in SX.e. And of course, with any order, I got to start with a customer. I can either use my last one, I can search a customer, or I can actually add a customer. One of the things we do like is that we have the ability, and again, this is all configurable. You don't have to allow this, but we do let you, if you want to, set up a customer as part of the order workflow. What a concept. That can be particularly useful, especially if you're doing like a showroom situation or a trade show where you may encounter new customers. So let's go ahead and pick, I'm going to pick Conquered Cycles, which is the last customer that let's see, let's do a new, let's pick one. So let's go search. Yeah. And let's spell it right.
Just a quick question while you're searching in the search functionality, can you type in fewer letters and have it populate more options, or rather than worrying about spelling, is it better to use fewer characters?
You can use as many as you want. I think I may have lost my connection here, so I'm just going to just restart this and see if that clears that up. Okay, let's try this again. All right. So I think I got it back. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Lost my connection. Now it's back. Okay, so I just recovered or just brought up my last customer, which is Conquered Cycles. It fills in the ship to information for me. I have a default warehouse for this customer. It brings in the default warehouse. If this customer requires a PO, I'm going to see the PO number. We try to follow the same business rules that you use in SX.e. If you need a PO in SX.e, you're going to need it here. Same rule process. If you want to go in and edit some of the information with delivery dates and put in additional information on disposition terms, you can do that here also, security permitting. Or a lot of people just pass this screen entirely and just take the defaults. We do have the ability, and you'll notice these tabs here at the bottom of my screen. I can put in notes if I want on the order. I can also have notes on the order line too if I want to. But usually where this gets a little more interesting is, let's go over to line items. Okay. And this is where I start to build out my order. And I want to cover a couple of points here. First of all, the easy conventional way to do this is just go search for products. Now, my product database here is all bicycle parts and bicycles. So you're going to see that kind of stuff appear now as I go through this. So let's go ahead. Let's search for cranks. Okay. So I'm doing a keyword search there. By the way, if you're wondering, I'm connected to Cloud Suite on the back end. Doesn't have to be, but that's what I'm using here for my system. And then I can just go in and start to fill in how many I want. So let's, if I want to go and order one, I can do that. And now I've got one on that order. You'll notice up here, I got a little shopping cart icon, tells me I got one product already on my order. Now, a couple of things I will mention here. You can, obviously the information on the line is limited. I can see quantity available. I can see the price. This is the customer's quantity one price. Okay, if there's any question about that. I can also see the default unit of measure or selling unit of measure, if you want to think of it that way. I can change that. We do support multi-unit of measure. That can, again, as I said, it's really a full-featured distribution ordering system. If I need to go drill into the product to get more information, we can use the little information circle here, and drill in, and I can go and look up more information on the product. I can get things like, related products. I can get more detail on pricing. I can get availability, and by availability, I'm really looking at availability across all our warehouses. So if I don't have it here, I could potentially go and see where else I could source that product. Okay. Let's come back. That's pretty simple, right? So I've easily gone and put one item on my order. Before I leave the screen, I'm going to point out one other thing. By pressing on the line, you can pop a dialog box that gives you extended information. So now on this, I can get more detail on how the price is calculated. I can see some cost information. Again, important, security permitting, right? You can also determine what cost is seen in that. So if I have a cost that I typically make available to my salesperson, but I use something else for accounting, I can control that as well. And now if you need to do a price override, we have an arrow here where you can go in and you can then change. You actually get a little price calculator here if you want to. You can either override the price, you can set it by margin, by percentage. We give you full capabilities to control that. And again, that's all user controlled or security controlled, I should say. Now, another thing that's kind of neat is I get this question quite a bit. Well, I've got the customer with me. I don't necessarily want the customer looking over my shoulder, finding out what I'm paying for the product. We have, if you go into options on here, which is under here, you actually is a feature there called customer mode, where you can suppress anything that would be, awkward for a customer to see. So we do have that capability in there as well. Now, what I want to do is come to the bottom of the screen here, and I want to point out a couple of things that I want to call attention to. First of all, you'll notice over here where it's kind of highlighted, it says stock item search. That's the tab I'm currently in. So what that does is just allows me to search products, build out my order, kind of the way we all normally do it. Okay. We'll have three other options as well. We have count-based, which I do want to go to, product list, and shopping list. Now, I'm not going to really get into these in any great detail. Shopping list is comparable to a feature that's in SX.e where I can use the sales history that's with this customer to build out a shopping list for me. And we allow you to go in and pull in sales history for the last umpteen months on this customer. And you can start to build out your order using that. Why is that valuable? Well, a lot of times when I call on a customer, it's a replenishment order, right? Typically when salespeople are in the field, they're there regularly. They're there to replenish what the customer has. So if I'm not doing outright VMI for this customer, the shopping list at least gives me a pretty good idea of what this customer's been buying, and I can start to make suggestive orders or suggestions on what he should buy. Let's come over to count-based because we were talking about VMI earlier. Okay, so remember we talked about two ways to do VMI. We could do product lists. We can also do consignment. I'm going to show you the product list method because the two are virtually the same in the way you go about doing them. So let's go to product list. Now, for those of you that are really familiar with SX.e, Cloud Suite in some depth, you know that one of the more, I guess, less familiar features in the product is a program called ICSPL, which is basically product lists that you can associate with customers or really anything you want. That's what we have here. We use that, and we use it because it becomes really the basis for how we do a part of vendor managed inventory, usually the part where you determine the customer already owns the product, but you're doing the inventory, that first method that I originally talked about. So how does this work? Okay, let's look at the products it brought up here. Now, what am I looking at here? I'm looking at what's on this product list, Concord Cycles. I've named it after the customer, but this you would find in ICSPL in SX.e. Now, you'll notice here, there are two entry columns. There's a quantity counted, and there's the quantity on order. Okay. Now this is blank now because I don't have an order quantity. I don't have a count quantity yet because I haven't counted anything. Okay. Now you'll also notice down below here, these two numbers, 5 and 10. Actually, they're all, well, these first three are 5 and 10. What's that? Those are the min-max quantities. So my min-max for this particular product, it's a jersey, is 5 minimum, 10 maximum. So it works the way min-max works. So let's come over here on the second one, and let's say I go and I count 4. So now I am below my minimum, right? What does it do? It orders up to my maximum. It's suggesting an order quantity of 6. And I didn't want to clear that up, have that. So let's do that. Okay. So I now have an order quantity of 6 that is my suggested order quantity for this product. Okay. I can change that. Doesn't have to be 6. If you want to change it, you just put your finger in there and put in whatever you want. But 6 is my recommended quantity. Okay. And you just go through. Now, what's kind of neat too is we do have the ability to use barcoding throughout the product. And we use typically a little reader like this, which is a Bluetooth, inexpensive Bluetooth scanner, only costs a couple $100. And you can get a tether for it so you don't lose it and other things. And with that Bluetooth scanner, it's trivial to go through and makes your counting process much faster. And if typically you're counting in small quantities, you can actually just click the barcode a couple of times and it'll increment the count. And literally with a couple of clicks, you can get a product in there and get the count in there that you want. So that's quite efficient. So that's now let's just go. We'll put one more in here. So let's say here I decide I count 2. So now it's going to order 8 on that, and I look up here. You'll notice there actually are 3 products in my shopping cart. Why are there 3? Because I did order a product. I put a product on order on the last screen that I was on as well. So now I've got 3 products here on my order. Let's go, and in the interest of time, we're going to start to wrap this up. So I'm going to say I'm done. Here's a recap of my order. I can go and change this now if I want. Again, you're seeing some margin information here. That information is purely security controlled. So not necessarily going to be there for everybody. And let's continue on. Okay. Now, a couple things I will mention here. First of all, submitting the order is a 2-step process. The first thing I do is I validate the order, and it goes out and it does a preliminary calculation on the order, checks to make sure I've got all the products. It'll go and compute taxes. Now, this is all happening with SX.e. So this tax number is getting calculated by the business system. And I think that's an important point to make here. The business system really makes the rules. We don't. We look to the business system to do that. If there are any add-on charges, we're going to see that. Okay. And now, if I want to, I can go capture a signature. Or, if I don't feel I need to do that, I can just go ahead and submit the order. And that submission makes it a real order. So now when I go and do that, I now have a real order. It's 1503 in Cloud Suite. And let's come over here. And we'll pick that. And this is Cloud Suite that I'm in. And if I come over to line detail, here's the 3 products I got. We can come over to our total screen. Here's the total on my order. This is the tax amount that got computed. There weren't any other add-on charges. I got all my margin calculations here. So that's, that's the order cycle. Okay. And I was looking to kind of wrap this up in 45 minutes. We're there. I'll open it up for some final questions and we'll wrap up after.
Excellent. I'm going to look at the question bank real quickly here. Patrick asks if new customers, it says if new customers can, he's asking if new customers can be set on the fly, how do you verify their credit?
Okay. Typically, if it's going to be a new customer, we default to a cash customer. We don't normally expect a salesperson in the field to be extending credit to a customer. So it's usually going to be, COD or cash as the method of payment. And then I should add this, you can add the customer and then someone in accounting or your credit manager can go and change that afterward.
And also, is this software product able to be integrated and used with OS, Android, and Google phones and tablets?
Not currently. Currently, we're iPad based, and that was a trade-off for us, to be candid about it. The trade-off is that what we found is a lot of the cross-platform development tools don't really give you the best experience. We were really looking to give you what I would say was really an enriched experience, the local data, all that. Hard to do on those cross-platform development
Understand.
So we're Apple today.
Okay, great. And what or where in the SX.e tables does it show what orders were created outside SX.e using this tool?
I believe, and it's probably going to make me a liar, but we're going to go and it's coming.
I took the screen back, Ken, so we're not able to see what you're doing.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Just to let you know.
It's all right. Normally, the field we set is the origin code. So that's the answer. And we do that really with all of our integrations, because we do integrate to some other products where we do order collection. Usually it's the origin code that we set.
Okay. And it says, here's another question. If I have CRM, do I still need FieldOffice to submit orders?
You probably do. And unless you have a very, very simplified ordering process. And I mean things like no multi-unit of measure. We never get into substitutions or supersedes. We don't need to do anything with VMI. If you have a very simplified ordering process, CRM might do it for you. But honestly, I'd have never seen that.
Okay. And this looks like the last question, unless something else populates. How does FieldOffice compare to OrderPoint, which I believe is another option?
Yes, it was an option.
Was an option.
All right. There's a little bit of history there. At one point, Infor was actually reselling the product on our behalf, and we needed to draw a marketing distinction. So we trademarked the brand name OrderPoint. So we sold FieldOffice through Infor under the OrderPoint name. The two products functionally are identical. And I can tell you today, there is no difference. We don't sell OrderPoint to new clients anymore because Infor and Expertek kind of came to an agreement that it was easier and more efficient for Expertek just to take those orders directly.
I have a question
Mhm.
because I'm a complete Apple girl, and I know that my iPad is cellular enabled. So,
Mhm.
what if somebody has an iPad in the field with their team that is cellular enabled? Do you feel that it's in their best interest to come back and do the ordering dump when they get back on internet connection, or via cellular? That's just my
Oh,
question.
that's a really good question because I definitely have an opinion about that question.
Okay.
I mean, I have a fair number of clients that do exactly what you're talking about, which is they kind of collect, even though they have full internet access because they have cellular, they still end up deciding to collect the orders and they store them and send them in later. I'm not a huge fan of the practice, to be honest with you. I think if you have a connection, first of all, the ordering process it's simpler if you're connected. You don't have to
Mhm.
deal with cleanup later, and you don't have to get into, oh, gee, this customer needs a PO. Why didn't I get that PO number while I was there? Uh, my preference is you enter it when you collect it, but we do have people that do exactly what you're asking about.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
It also sounds like that if anybody's ever in the field and there's a question with regard to whether or not a PO is necessary, that's when that signature capture field can really come in as a great tool also to know that somebody internally did
Mhm.
sign off and authorize that purchase, which is great.
Right, and keep in mind, you're not going to get real-time pricing in if you're not connected. So, that's another thing to consider in that if you're running offline, you don't have the benefit of seeing real-time pricing, and that could get you into trouble.
Yeah, sure can.
Mm.
Ken, you've been so honoring with your time. First of all, we want to thank every one of you that jumped on board today for taking the time to join Ken and our Tug team here this afternoon. Ken, to you for the great content on creating a product like Field Office with your Expertek tool. And as with most of our webinars, this presentation will be available on our Tug website for future reference. Share it with another colleague on your team, someone that you know, maybe that isn't yet a Tug member, to show the value of all the options that we have in terms of learning within our organization. And also it's there for you to come back and take another deeper dive and look when you want to look and drill into something more deeply. We'd like to invite those of you who are members in our TUG community to go ahead and continue the discussion on our forum boards, and also to let you know that our next webinar is going to take place this Friday. It's going to include the Infor executive team, including Kevin Samuelson, CEO, and it is a live only session. So make sure that you look in your inbox and that you haven't disregarded an email that has come in, or also I just posted it on the TUG forum boards too. So you can go ahead and grab the registration links in either one of those two options. But for those of you who are not yet members, please visit theusergroup.org and join us today. You won't regret it. And as they say in Hollywood, that's a wrap.
Thank you. Thanks, Gloria, and thanks everybody for attending.